The hospital room was silent except for the slow, mechanical rhythm of a heart monitor and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Outside the window, the city glowed with life, but inside, 15-year-old Alina felt like the world had already ended. Her legs lay motionless beneath a thin white blanket, lifeless reminders of the car accident that had taken everything from her in a single, brutal moment. Doctors had stopped using hopeful words weeks ago. Therapists spoke gently, but their eyes carried quiet resignation. And her father, the powerful CEO known for building billion-dollar empires from nothing, sat beside her bed looking more broken than she had ever seen him. That was the moment when a stranger stepped into the room, leaned down close to her ear, and whispered words no one else had dared to say. He would help her walk again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of hope, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Alina had once been full of movement. She loved running in the park near their luxury apartment, dancing in her room while music blasted through speakers, and teasing her father about his serious business calls. Her father, Karim, had always been busy building his company, but for her, he tried. Weekend breakfasts, surprise gifts, and occasional vacations were his way of showing love. But the accident changed everything. A speeding truck ran a red light, crushing the side of their car. Karim survived with minor injuries. Alina did not. Spinal damage left her paralyzed from the waist down, and every doctor they consulted confirmed the same heartbreaking reality: the chances of recovery were almost non-existent. For months, Karim threw money at the problem the only way he knew how. He flew in specialists from different countries, arranged advanced therapies, experimental treatments, private rehabilitation centers. But progress never came. Each failed attempt chipped away at his confidence, his power, and his identity. He was a man who solved problems. Yet this was one battle he couldn't win. Meanwhile, Alina's hope faded faster than anyone noticed. At first she tried to stay positive, smiling through therapy sessions, pretending she believed she would recover. But slowly, exhaustion replaced optimism. She stopped asking about treatments. She stopped responding to encouragement. Eventually, she stopped speaking much at all. The day the stranger entered their lives was supposed to be routine. A new physiotherapist had been scheduled after Karim insisted on trying one more specialist. Karim expected another polished professional with impressive credentials and rehearsed sympathy. Instead, a simple-looking man walked in wearing modest clothes, carrying a worn leather bag. His name was Daniel. He wasn't famous. He wasn't highly decorated with awards. In fact, his resume looked ordinary compared to the experts Karim had hired before. Karim almost dismissed him immediately, assuming this would be another disappointment. But Daniel's calm presence filled the room in a way no one else's had. Daniel noticed something others had missed. He didn't focus on Alina's legs first. He looked at her eyes. He saw the emptiness there, the kind that came not from physical injury, but from lost belief. He spoke softly, not with forced cheerfulness, but with quiet certainty. He explained that recovery was never only about nerves and muscles. It was about connection between the brain and body, about persistence, about rebuilding pathways slowly, painfully, and sometimes unexpectedly. Karim had heard similar explanations before, but Daniel spoke differently. There was conviction, not theory. What Karim didn't know was that Daniel carried his own story of heartbreak. 5 years earlier, his wife had died during childbirth complications, leaving him alone with a newborn son. That loss shattered him. For months, he barely functioned. But caring for his child forced him to keep going. During that time, he volunteered at rehabilitation centers, helping patients with basic exercises, learning techniques, and eventually training professionally. He had seen people regain abilities doctors said were impossible. Not everyone recovered, but some did. And those moments shaped his belief that hope should never be abandoned too early. Daniel began working with Alina gently. The first sessions weren't dramatic breakthroughs. They were frustrating, repetitive movements, tiny muscle stimulations, assisted stretches, mental visualization exercises. He encouraged her to imagine movement before attempting it, to reconnect her mind with sensations she thought were gone. At first, she resisted. She had already endured months of false hope. But Daniel never pushed aggressively. He spoke about his son, about small victories in life, about patience. Slowly, Alina began responding, not physically yet, but emotionally. She started asking questions again. She even smiled once during a session, surprising her father so much that Karim stepped out into the hallway and cried quietly where no one could see. Weeks passed. Progress remained minimal on the surface, but something deeper was changing. Alina began feeling faint tingling sensations in her legs. Doctors warned it might be random nerve activity with no functional meaning. But Daniel treated it as a victory. He increased exercises carefully, celebrating every tiny response. Karim watched cautiously, afraid to believe too much, but unable to ignore the subtle improvements. For the first time since the accident, hope returned, not as a loud promise, but as a fragile possibility. Then came the day everything shifted. During a therapy session, Daniel asked Alina to focus intensely on moving her right foot while he supported her leg. She concentrated harder than ever before, her face tense with effort. And then, almost imperceptibly, her toes twitched. It lasted less than a second. But it happened. Daniel saw it. Kareem saw it. Alina felt it. The room went silent before emotion exploded into tears. It wasn't walking. It wasn't recovery. But it was proof that her body wasn't completely disconnected. It was proof that something was still alive inside her. From that moment, their journey became both harder and more meaningful. Therapy intensified. Pain increased. There were setbacks, days when muscles refused to respond, days when exhaustion overwhelmed her. But now she had something she didn't before, belief. Daniel remained steady through every emotional wave, reminding her that progress wasn't linear. Kareem, once obsessed with results, learned patience. He began attending sessions not as a CEO expecting outcomes, but as a father supporting his child. Months later, with braces supporting her legs and Daniel guiding her carefully, Alina stood for the first time. Her body trembled violently, and she could only remain upright for a few seconds. But those seconds felt like eternity. Kareem held his breath, afraid movement might disappear if he even blinked. When she finally sat back down, tears streamed down all three of their faces. It wasn't a miracle cure. She still had a long road ahead. But she had crossed the invisible line between impossible and possible. Please take a moment right now to comment the word hope if you believe that no situation is ever truly hopeless. Your comment might inspire someone else who is struggling today. Over the next year, Alina progressed further than anyone predicted. With crutches, she took steps. With determination, she built strength. Eventually, she walked short distances independently. The girl who once stared blankly at a hospital's ceiling was now laughing during therapy sessions, teasing Daniel like an older brother, and planning her future again. Kareem's perspective on life changed completely. Business achievements felt smaller compared to the miracle he witnessed daily, the resilience of the human spirit. What moved Kareem most wasn't just his daughter's recovery, but Daniel's unwavering dedication. This man who had lost his own family had given hope to someone else's. Out of gratitude, Kareem offered to fund a rehabilitation center so Daniel could help more patients who couldn't afford treatment. Daniel accepted, not for money, but for purpose. Together, they created a place where hope wasn't a luxury reserved for the wealthy. Near the end of her recovery journey, Alina walked into that new center on her own two legs, surrounded by patients beginning their own battles. She realized her story could become someone else's motivation. She began volunteering, encouraging others the way Daniel once encouraged her. The cycle of hope continued. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to support more stories that spread positivity and inspiration. The truth is, sometimes miracles don't come from advanced technology or powerful people. Sometimes they come from ordinary individuals who refuse to give up on someone else. And sometimes, all it takes to restart a life is one quiet promise whispered at the right moment, that someone believes in you when you no longer believe in yourself.